Anyone can create success. Anyone can have the desires that they wish. It starts with the thoughts. The way that you think and feel creates your reality. Today, in our episode of The Business Coach, we talk to Coach Michael Dill. He shares with us that what we think about, mixed by emotion, backed by faith, will transmute itself into reality. But positive thoughts and wealth consciousness needs to be programmed. Let's find out why. Coach Michael Dill, thanks for joining us. Tell me, why business coaching for you?
Why business coaching? It's funny. I was working August. I was a consulting position up in Pennsylvania, and I was let go because, number one, I was least likely to control. I'm not a very good employee. And number two, I was furthest away. And I was going through a success magazine one afternoon, and in the back they had this caption probably about this big. I can't exactly remember what it says, but it was something about grow yourself, grow your business while helping others grow, getting paid. And that was my first introduction to Actioncoach business coaching. And I started doing my due diligence. And after going down the path of doing due diligence and speaking to a lot of coaches and then having a very large aha day, I decided to become a coach.
And so you've worked with so many businesses and business owners, leaders, throughout your years of coaching. What do you find is kind of the one thing that sort of contributes to success the most?
It's interesting you asked that question, Michelle. A lot of times it all comes down to their thinking. We think a certain way. A lot of people, a lot of executives, business owners, like, hey, my team needs fixing, or this needs fixing, or that needs fixing. And then as good coaches, we slow down and start asking questions and challenging them in ways they've never been challenged before. And they begin to realize their thinking needs to change. And when I pride myself on really digging deep, like a lot of coaches do, of getting them to see who they need to be as a leader, as an individual, as a communicator, to really empower people to start moving in the right direction. And once they really become the leader they need to be to empower their team, and obviously everything else we put into place with structure and culture and so on and so forth, things start finally moving in the right direction. So we need to go there first before we go to all the solutions and structure and strategies.
So if thinking comes first, for business leaders that are listening, we know what that means. Your thoughts create your reality. But what's a practical step when it comes to how we think or challenge our own thinking?
Well, first of all, human beings are somewhat lazy. So thinking takes work. It's easier for just to hear somebody, oh, that works. Okay, let's do that. That's easy. But to really think it through, because thinking means you have to take a look at yourself. And the first thing is you have to have somebody asking really good questions. Like, if you think about this, Michelle, somebody wants to go to the gym. If somebody wants to get in good shape physically, they know the discipline to go to the gym. They know they have to either run, or they have to walk, or they have to eat better. They have to go lift weights. They got to do whatever they need to do. Now, whether they take the action or not is a different story. But they know what should be done to get better physically fit. But I don't think people have really wrapped their heads around that it takes the same type of discipline to get your mind mentally fit. So I think people underestimate that. So when they're challenged by asking themselves questions and having someone asking them a question, and think a little bit deeper instead of just whatever first answer they come up with is the answer, because honestly, the first answer is never the answer. It's just the surface answer. The second, third, fourth question that gets to the real answer. So if you're not digging deep and thinking, and you're just not growing, and you're just not really finding the solutions to take yourself to the next level.
What's an example of that, like the layers of questioning?
There's no good people out there. Okay, that's interesting. Take the B times do equals how. What do I need to do to find the right people? And then my question would be, well, how about, so who do you need to be as a leader of an organization to create the culture and the brand and the environment to attract the right people that really want to line up and work for your company to represent your services, your products, and your brand? So who would you need to be as a leader? Woo, different question. Now the person has to look in the mirror. Requires a lot more work asking, who do I need to be as a leader to create the culture and the brand to attract the right people versus just saying there's no good people out there. That's just a preconceived notion. Different thought process.
So questioning is one way of doing that. I want to go a little bit deeper. I want to give you another level of questioning. When it comes to how we think, when we think about the greater picture, whether that's, purpose or dreams or what we want to create for our life, what type of business we'd like to have or what type of goals and dreams we have in terms of life and how our business can be the vehicle for that. We know that things like dream boards are important, your I am statements. Give me a deeper level to thinking.
Well, before we go there, let me backtrack. You asked why I became a coach, and I said, I had an aha day. And it was very interesting, and I was blessed with finding my why. And there's a great quote called, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear." And I was contemplating, because usually if I get a new job, somebody's writing me a check. Now I'm buying a practice, so I'm writing out somebody else a check. A lot easier to receive a check than write one out. So I took a walk to contemplate all this and what was going on. And I had this series of questions I asked myself. And again, the questions forced me to think. And the first question is, what am I happy about? So when you ask yourself a good question, you come up with good answers. And I was walking across the street, and my answer was, I'm happy. I think I found my calling. And I kept repeating the same answer over and over again. And I walked across the street, stepped up on the curbing, and there's a church. And the first thing I saw was the statue of Mother Mary. And over the next 3 minutes, Michelle, somebody else was in charge. I had an out-of-body experience that it took me quite some time to get my composure back to where the walk is usually about 40 minutes, and about 30 minutes in, I got to the second question. Now, it's not like it's a very difficult question, but it just took me that long to get my composure back. And the second question was, what am I excited about? And I kept saying, I'm excited about my future. I'm excited about my future. I kept going over and over and over again. So when it was time to go home, I realized, okay, you can't act like that was a normal walk. That I realized somehow I was touched that day. And I went back to the Mother Mary. I put my hand on her head. I looked up. I said, I wasn't looking for advice, but if this is a sign, I'll follow your lead. And I realized right then and there that God just appointed me to help others, that it was time for me to step up and really become the best I can possibly be, that I really need to go to the next level because he just appointed me. And I realized that it's no longer about me. Wealth creation is a byproduct of getting everyone else what they want. So when I got clear on my why, I'm like, okay, well, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, I think that's the ultimate teacher tapping on your shoulder, say, this is where you need to go. So it became clear to me that me first, work on me, learn, study, master, teach, and then everything I learned through that, I'll be able to help my clients do the same. So asking yourself the right questions and thinking and embracing when something like that happens. I could have avoided it. I could have known it. I said, oh, that was crazy. No, I embraced it and took the sign. And I think a lot of people, when they start asking themselves questions, they have answers. Then they start micromanaging the process and talk themselves out of it, just embracing it. Embrace it. It's there for a reason.
What happens when you ask yourself questions? What happens kind of
by brain has to work. See, when somebody else is talking and our brain may or may not be working. A lot of us out there listening, we're married. We have spouses. Anyone who's married, you could raise your hand if you've been in 100% of every single conversation you have in this class and with your spouse, and I can guarantee no hands are going up. So, but when you're asking somebody a question, they have to stop. They have to register the question. They have to think. And there's a whole lot of different mechanics going into answering a question than just passively listening. So it's a lot more work. So when you ask yourself the question, you start analyzing. And if you ask yourself a good question, like when I ask myself, what am I happy about? You can actually program yourself to be on your A game by asking yourself the right questions in the morning. What am I happy about? I'm happy I have a great life. I live in South Florida. It's warm. I went voting this weekend. I work in a great environment. I have great clients. So how does that make me feel? Awesome. What are you excited about? What are you proud of? What are you grateful for? By asking good questions, you come up with good answers. But unfortunately, most people aren't disciplined in that manner, and they wake up like, oh, why did I wake up on the wrong side of bed today? Well, ask a dumb question, you're going to get a dumb answer, and you're going to program yourself to have a pretty crappy day. So I rather program myself to have a good day than a bad one.
Okay, so ask the right questions. So I also want to ask you when it comes to conscious mind, subconscious mind, and let's talk there.
So here's the real key, and this was such an aha when I started doing my Think and Grow Rich. What we think about most, mixed with emotion, backed by faith, will transmute itself into the physical equivalent or reality. So let's think about that. Let's say you're on a roll. Everything you touch turns to gold. I used to say gold, now I say emerald, and hopefully somewhere in the future I'll say it turns to diamond. Anyways, everything you touch turns to emerald, diamond, gold, whatever is your favorite. And so nothing goes wrong. So what you think about most, on a roll, things are working, mixed with emotion, you're jacked up, you're juiced up, you're enthusiastic, backed by faith, cash flow, people are saying yes, everything's working. So you produce exactly that, more of that. Let's flip it. You're stuck. Nothing's working. Everything's going wrong. Murphy is around every single corner. So what are you thinking about most? All the crap. Backed by faith because nothing's working. Mixed with emotion, frustration, anxiety. And then because you're thinking about that most, you deliver exactly more of that. So the other side of it is negative thoughts and poverty consciousness needs no permission to get into our brain. Positive thoughts and wealth consciousness needs to be conditioned. So let's wrap that all up and siphon it down. What we think about most, mixed with emotion, backed by faith, will transmute itself into reality. It doesn't specify whether we're thinking positive or negative. We don't have to condition our mind negatively. Subconsciously, everything we're listening to.
Why is that? Why do we not have to program our mind to think negatively, but we do to think positively?
It's a default factor. To condition yourself positively takes work. Asking yourself the right questions, doing the right affirmations, doing a gratitude journal, focusing on everything that God delivers to us at our fingertips. When things are the negative default factor, if you don't have a discipline, I mentioned going to the gym is one thing. You can get your discipline wrapped around that. You can get your mind wrapped around that. But wrapping your head around the fact that you need to program your mind on a daily basis to think right, see the right things, take the action. If you don't do that, you're leaving room for the noise. And as we all know, there's plenty of noise out there. So the default factor is negative. Why do you think marketing, so many people in the United States are eating the wrong foods, doing the wrong things? Because marketing knows that 90% of the audience aren't doing the work to program the mind correctly. So, bam, they got a nice open door to get in there and program the mind however they wish.
So, programming your mind to think positive takes work, a commitment, discipline. What are some of the steps? And I want to come back to subconscious because I think that's something that you teach in your Think and Grow Rich program, and I want to come back to that in a minute. But what are some of the disciplines that you can take to work on your thinking?
Affirmations. I'm an amazing coach doing amazing thing with amazing clients getting amazing results. Funny story, my wife blew out her knee several years ago, and she works for JetBlue. And so she's home a couple of days a week. So we have our freedom, and we're together. And she goes, I blew out my knee, so I'm going to be going through physical therapy for 7 months. I said, so what does that mean? She goes, well, I'll be home every day for 7 months. I'm like, oh, okay. So I wrote, I'm an amazing man living an amazing life with my amazing wife, because I had to get my head wrapped around the fact that she was going to be around every day. Um, so we can literally program our mind to think what we want it to think. So if there's any challenges we have, if someone says, I'm always tired, well, create an affirmation that you're always energetic. If you're always late, create an affirmation that you're always on time. If you believe you're not a great leader, create an affirmation. I am an awesome leader, communicating to my team, empowering them daily to make decisions without me. So affirmations, gratitude is big. Writing down gratitude journal every day, what you're grateful for, because when you're grateful, you can't be feeling that you're without. You're feeling abundance. So when you feel abundance, you feel the more you believe that you have, the more you'll get. You believe you have less, you get exactly that, less.
I mean, I know that there's, many people and some that might be listening that are going through adversity. You could often think, I don't have anything to be grateful for because I'm really stuck in the mud right now. But when you think there is so many things to be grateful for, it can be, I have a roof over my head, I have food on the table, I have water to drink. These things are so powerful when it comes to gratitude, right?
When I was struggling, some of the things in my gratitude journal was I slept 7 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would grasp onto anything I can grasp onto. You could always find something.
Okay, so programming our subconscious. And so you might say these things, I am, a great business owner, providing great value to my clients as an example. But you might not believe it. How long does it take when you say it? How often should you say it for it to sink into your subconscious?
Here's how it worked for me. Yes, I did. I had I am statements when I was reading. I'm like, what a crock of crap that is. However, let's just say you feel like you're not a great leader, and you have an affirmation. I am an awesome leader that communicates wisely to my team and empowers them to make the right decisions. And then one day you're having a conversation with somebody on your team, and you're on your A game, and you empower them, and they made a decision without you. The next day when you read that affirmation, it's locked in, and it's yours for life. You own it now. It's like everything. Until we do something, we don't. Belief is a funny thing. We got to believe we're capable, but until it actually happens, like then it's locked in. You own it. It's yours.
Okay, so that's one of the processes. I want to come back to Think and Grow Rich because obviously you're very passionate about the book, the system within the book, and it may not necessarily mean creating wealth for everybody, but the system can be followed for anything that you want to create in life. Can you please share with our audience, the power of the book and the process and why you're so passionate about it?
Well, think of this. Success leaves clues. Why do we all have coaches? Why are we coaches? Because learn, study, master, teach. We've done the work. We're helping others. We're speeding up the process for them. I always say, if you put a coach in a business, it's like putting Red Bull in the business. You're going to get there a lot quicker. So Napoleon Hill spent 25 years of his life researching success and failure, interviewing the most successful people on the planet. He studied success and failure for 25 years, came up with 13 principles. If we learn, study, master, and apply, we can be successful. So he spent 25 years of his life doing it. Thank you very much for saving us the time to do that. So all we have to do is apply the principles and we'll be successful. And Think and Grow Rich, Think and Grow Rich, just the title, it's not just about being rich, isn't just about money. It's being grateful for everything you have. It's the abundance. We literally have everything at our fingertips that we could ever want. We just got to go get it. It's there for the taking. And the principles just gives us the thinking and the tools on how to get it. But again, you have to apply it. I do the course, Michelle, because I read the book 20 times and absorbed about 10% of it because I read it alone. And it doesn't work reading it alone. When you do it right and start applying it, changes your life.
So what's some of the transformation that you've had with people that have been through the course? Give me some stories.
I like when I have one client he has his entire team doing it. And I mean, let me see, we started working together a little less than 8 years ago. It'll be 8 years in July. They had 2 companies doing 9 million. They have 6 companies doing 30 million now. And we actually had a call about a month ago, and his whiffle was, what I feel like expressing, coach, is I just don't feel like I'm working hard. I feel like I should be doing more. And I had to explain to him that he's doing what he needs to do. He's done the work to have the team run the show, and he's educated them and empowered them. And he's having a hard time getting his head wrapped around the fact that doesn't have his sleeves rolled up, getting his boots dirty. No, you've become a great leader, so you're leading your team to do that work for you. So he's going through a transformation, but he has to get his head wrapped around it. So that right there, and people getting really clear on what they want their net worth to be, how much money they want to make, how they can empower others, but all the principles of actually understanding the checklist of how to become wealthy, abundant, and grateful for what you have.
And so you mentioned you'd read the book 20 odd times before you really understood it. I'm sure so many listeners would have read the book, potentially at least once. So, why would you go back and read it again? And is that what would they have missed? Or is it just a refresher?
Well, what happened, Michelle, was 9 years ago, there was a coach, Heather Christie. At the time, she was a top coach in the United States for Actioncoach, total rock star. And she asked me if I read the book. I said, yeah, of course I had. And she goes, how many times you read it? I said, I don't know, a dozen times. I listened to the tapes back and forth to work every day. I mean, my book's falling apart. She goes, great. So did you read the book the way the book was supposed to be read? I'm like, Heather, I don't even know how to answer that question. So the answer obviously must be no. She goes, okay, so you read the book, a dozen times, 20 times. What's the secret? I don't know. What? She goes, what's the secret? I'm like, crickets. She goes, well, you did read the preface, right? I said, of course I did. She goes, I invite you to go back and read the preface and just tell me how many times it says a secret. I highlighted it 23 times. So think about it. I read the book at least a dozen times. It tells me 23 times in the preface, listen, pay attention, there's a secret coming your way. 2 questions she asked me, couldn't answer either one of them, right over my head. So they bought me a course of how to read it correctly with a group. And I compare it to the Super Bowl when they do a kickoff and all the lights are flashing in the stands. It was just an epiphany of BFOs after another. And I couldn't believe how much I missed. I mean, how do you read a book a dozen times, listen to the tape on the way to work every day, and miss 90% of it? Because I didn't do the work. And I didn't apply the principle of mastermind, which is 2 or more people in harmony in the same conversation directed towards the same outcome. And only then will you reach infinite intelligence where all the answers are. And if you read a book by yourself, you're not actually applying the principle of mastermind. And that's what's the question. She goes, well, how can you actually apply the principle that you're reading if you're reading a book alone? Touche, good question. And the book is too far wide and deep. Nobody does the exercises. There's plenty of work to be done in the book. I mean, I just spoke to a group in November, and they're all high-level men. And I knew the answer. Who read the book? I knew every single hand would go up. I said, who read the book the way it was supposed to be read with a group? Every single hand went down. Who did the work in the book? Not one hand went up. We've all read the book the wrong way, and it's too valuable to leave on the table. So Heather asked me, she said, what are you going to do? I said, I got to teach it. If I miss that much, I guarantee everybody does. And everybody does. We all miss it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, when you apply the principles, the things that you want to manifest can happen pretty quickly. For me personally, going through the program, I think it was week 3, I had already manifested, what I wanted to call in. And it was amazing. It's like, oh my gosh, what now? What's next? What's that next layer? Do you just go back and start again? And what's the next thing that you want to call in or manifest?
Oh boy. Um, I obviously gone over my goals. This is this call early in the year, so I have my goals. I just joined a group a year ago, a very high level group of men. I'm right now enjoying the ride. Action Coach has been a wonderful ride. I mean, last year when we were in Croatia for 2 weeks, my wife and I, we almost had to pinch ourselves. We were in Hvar for a week in between. We went what Dubrovnik. Most people do their having their fun, then they do the conference, and then they go back to work. We do the conference, then we have our fun, and then go back to work. And we stayed at a place in Hvar, which was just, I mean, it was the best place we ever stayed in our life. And we just kept looking at each other like, is this real? And so having the ability to connect with great people. Always, I have goals for my business. I like working with large organizations with lots of layers. I like to work with all the layers of management, all the different divisions, go far, wide, deep, because every person, as a good coach, touches with their wisdom and experience, being authentic. That's one more person we touch and impact. But that's only one person. That person touches their team, their family, their kids, their wife. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So the impact as coaches, I always think of us as a trunk of a tree. There's many branches, and they keep branching out, branching out, branching out. So we can never, ever, ever underestimate what we bring to the table by just being authentic and taking our wisdom and teaching others. Um, so yeah, Rio de Janeiro in July, bring it on. Let's have some fun. I have my net worth goals. I have my type of client goals, of my bucket list, and keep on checking the bucket list though.
So, Michael, when it comes to thinking and action, thinking versus action or plus action, is it a even balance? Because can you just think and kind of manifest everything that you want to achieve, think and grow rich, or how much action does there need to be?
Well, Think and Grow Rich, they also have, plan. There's a chapter on planning. There's a chapter on leadership. So yeah, you got to think it. Then you got to transfer it to paper. That's the biggest thing that value that coaches bring to business owners. They got all this stuff rattling around their heads, and we ask, "So is that written down?" "Oh no, it's all in here." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, how's that working for you?" And usually the answer is not good. So you got to think it, write it on paper, start getting the plan, and then when you have the plan, take action. Nothing happens without action. It's action coach. It's not think about it coach. It's not, wait till the time is right, coach. It's action coach. Take action. But, planning takes thinking. It's all part of the process, not one thing more than the other. But the thing is, though, this needs to be right first. If this ain't right, I can give you every strategy, solution, and system in the book. You're still going to struggle. If you're not communicating well and you're not the leader you need to be and you're not working on being your best you're going to struggle with the other stuff. That's why I was blessed, because God touched me on the shoulder, said, "This is where you need to go. You need to become the best you." So, all right, you're the boss. I'll follow your lead. So that helped me become the best person I could possibly be, to be more of an asset to my clients.
Yeah, I think it's synchronicity, isn't it? Everything happens for a reason. And
It sure does.
for people listening, this maybe they, just have happened to tune in to this podcast episode. There's a reason that they're listening at this time. So but you mentioned earlier that, many people would just kind of let that go. They'd kind of not really listening at a deeper level.
I had a choice. I embraced it. I've also, the first year of business, I had some tremendous adversity. I lost a brother to suicide. That was also another lesson. Everything we have that comes our way is a lesson. And we can't avoid it. We got to embrace it. It's there for a reason. I always say God has a plan, but we're here and God's plan is here. He expects us to do a bunch of work. We got to do the work to get the plan. He just doesn't hand it over to us. We got to do the work. And I think he puts the toughest warriors through the toughest tests. Some of us might say, like, man, I've had some tremendous adversities in my life. Yeah, but you're one of the chosen ones. He's going to put you through the test. So you're going to pass the test. It only makes you stronger. So there's a lot of times in adversity when we're in the adversity, and we all have had it. When we're in it, it sucks. Let's face it. It just purely sucks. But when we look back at it years later, like, wow, who did I become in those years? And it makes us more real, more authentic. I mean, we need adversity. I mean, coal becomes diamonds because of pressure. So they'd stay coal all their life in ugly black rocks, but they turn into beautiful diamonds because of pressure. We have to embrace it. We have to hug it. In every adversity in business, don't shy away from it. It's there. There's a lesson. If you shy away from it, you won't get the lesson, and you won't grow. But it takes years. You gotta get your head wrapped around that thing.
A coach said to me once, through adversity, if you ask yourself the question, what's great about this? It's very hard to do, but geez, it's powerful, really powerful, because in that adversity or that challenge, there is something great, and your perspective on how you look at that can just shift everything.
And you could ask that question, what's great about this? And you'd be like, nothing. Well, what could be great about this? We got to keep on asking, because remember, you ask a question, the first answer is usually not the real answer. So we got to keep on asking the question until we get to the real answer. What could be great about this? Why is this happening? And then you start digging and thinking, and then all of a sudden you finally get to the answer.
So for people listening, when you think about, the signs from whether it's God, it's the universe, whoever it might be for you, when you, you could call it driftwood, but it's like, when you've got that calling in life, that purpose, you don't know what it is. Sometimes it can take years to find it. You get the little tap on the back of the head from, God or the universe or, whoever it is for you. And sometimes that tap just gets louder until there's this massive smack across the back of the head. So come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you can, you asked yourself that question. What are some kind of self-inquiring questions that we can ask ourselves that help us not need to get that smack across the back of the head and be more awake to signs?
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah. He attempts to get us attention lightly, like when someone has a heart attack. That's the ultimate smack in the back of the head. Like, I've been attempting to get your attention for quite some time now. One of the strategies I have is every morning I have a gratitude journal. I write 5 things I'm grateful for. And then I follow it up with my biggest win from the prior day. And then I have another book is 1 idea to grow me and my company today. So it's a process. If you think 5 things I'm grateful for, so you write down whatever it may be. Slept 8 hours last night. Had a great day on the water yesterday with some clients and some friends, and whatever. And then what was my biggest win from the prior day? So that gets you patting yourself on the back, because a lot of people we're always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? No, whoa, pat yourself on the back for what you did first, because we're wired to look at what's next. We're not wired to look at what we've done. And if we as leaders are not wired to look at patting ourselves for just the little things we've done well, we might go out to our audience and our team and notice the things they're not doing, instead of saying, hey, I noticed you did this. Great job. So how we do anything is how we do everything. And then the third thing I do is, I write down, what can I do to grow myself, my business? So grateful, good job, move forward. And then at nighttime, when I lie down at night, before I go to sleep, I ask myself, how did I show up today? And I want that answer to be a good answer. I showed up powerfully. I had great coaching calls with my clients. I had a great workout. Yeah, you showed up well, and you're going to show up better tomorrow. Then I can go to bed and sleep well.
So it's creating those habits for the way that you think.
Yeah, it's hey, marketing is marketing because marketing is programming how they want you to think. I always say, marketing is like a shiny apple. We see the shiny apple on one side. On the other side, sometimes a big bite out of it. So if we're not taking care of this, somebody else will. And you might not like the direction they're going to send you.
So what I'm taking from that is that you're saying things like, you can easily be pre-programmed by news, by advertising, to think in a way that's not empowering, that's disempowering. It's this balance, isn't it? You want to kind of stay on top of news, world news, but often watching the news every day can be quite disempowering.
Michelle, if it doesn't serve me, my family, my clients, or my business, my community, it doesn't interest me. And if it's important enough for us to know, we'll find out. Somebody will tell us. Somebody asked me, how do you keep up with the current news? I said, people like you tell me. There's always somebody out there telling everybody what's going on in the world because they have no direction or focus or dreams. So they just repeat everything that's being verbalized. So we'll figure it out.
Think about all that time you get back.
Oh my God. I mean, it's on my business plan. Protect my mind. It's one of my core factors. Protect my mind. Anything that doesn't serve me, any post, TV, anything that doesn't serve me and my purpose, don't go there.
Love that. Okay, so 3 questions that I'd like to wrap up with. I already know the answer to this one, but best book you've ever read?
I was thinking about Rich. Well, actually, Knock It Out of the Park Leadership.
Yes, great book.
I know the author very well.
Author Coach Michael Dill. Great book, highly recommend it. The best piece of advice you ever received?
Get a coach. Bruce Campbell, who at the time was the number one. I mean, Bruce Campbell, anybody knows Bruce Campbell, he's a beast. And I was a new coach, and it was 2000. We had Global coming up in the Bahamas, and I emailed him, hey, you going to be at Global? Love to chat. Sorry, mate, ain't going to be there. I'm like, I mean, what does every newer coach want to do? They want to pick the brains of the big guys. So I talked to the CEO at the time, Angie Fairbanks. I'm like, Bruce isn't going to be there. She goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to ask him for an hour of his time. I emailed him and asked him for an hour of his time, and he didn't reply. Then I had another call with Angie, and she goes, what happened? I said, he didn't reply. She goes, how many emails do you think somebody like that gets that from coaches like you that want to pick his brain? Everybody wants to talk to the top coach, right? Yeah. How many do you think he replies to all of them? I'm like, yeah, probably not. She goes, how many coaches would email him the second or third time to get his attention? I said, I don't know the answer to that, but I know one will. And I emailed him a second time, and he goes, sorry, mate, must have missed the first one. I got an hour. Are you open to do an hour on Skype? Yeah. And we had a good conversation, and he asked me who my coach was. And at the time, I did not have a coach.
So get a coach. And I'm pretty sure one of the chapters in the book is persistence. So I love that.
Yes. He gave me a good talking to. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I realized I just earned the right to talk with the top coach in the entire organization. I better heed his advice. So that's when I emailed the coach. I said, I want you to be my coach. Let's talk. Boom. And I've had a coach ever since. So we cannot do it alone. My brother took his own life. Why? Because he went to a shell and kept it all inside, and he went at it alone. When I needed help, I reached out to people and said, they took my hand and said, let's go. Can't do it alone.
Before I ask you the next question, I want to talk about persistence, because your example that you've just given is just really brought up something where how many times do people get knocked back or no, whether it's in sales or whatever it is in terms of an idea or funding for a new project, finance for growth of the business, whatever it is. Why is persistence so important?
Well, the universe wants to see if you're worthy to earn a prize. It's not like you go knock on the door, you're selling things door to door. Yes, I'm selling. Sure, come on in, have a cup of coffee. Oh, I got a piece of chocolate cake here. Have that too. Oh, I'd love to buy that for my friend. It doesn't work that way. No, the biggest prizes are meant for the warriors, and warriors have persistence. If you want something bad enough, you got to go for it. We had a call just at 3 o'clock, Georgia, Florida, and it's the first call in a year that we had our Celia on the call. Mm-hmm. Wonderful woman. And she talked for about 5 minutes how 95% of the people that gets her diagnosis die. She goes, I made a decision that I wasn't going to die. And here I am today. She goes, I just said, I am not going to die. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I'm going to stay positive. My God, if that's not persistence and tenacity, she made a decision. And she was telling, she goes, you can do anything you want to do. Whatever your goals are, go after them. Get them, because you can do it. See that beautiful lady just sit there and to tell you, like, I made a decision not to die. I mean, if God came and knocked on your door and say, or the Grim Reaper, I think we would all change our tune and become a little bit more persistent to go after our goals and dreams if we realized our time was limited, because our time is limited. We're here for a reason. We're here to live. And they just don't deliver it on your doorstep. You got to go out and get it. Do the work, have fun, embrace it, and just go get what's yours.
The best mentor or coach you've ever had throughout your career?
You know, when I saw that question, I thought it was an interesting question because I think every mentor we had was the right mentor at the time. I mean, Bruce Wilson was a coach of mine. He got me through the rough spots, and I actually circled around the Bruce again to get me to another level. I have a lot of coaches. I have a coach now, Kerry Kaufman. I have a coach outside the industry. Every person that we choose to be a mentor is impactful. I don't rate any one more than another. We get different things from everybody. And it's interesting. I spoke to a man once. I said, we learn something from every single person we meet. Some how to do things correctly, some how not to do things. Like, oh, thank you very much for showing us how not to do it so I don't have to go down that road. But there's a lesson everywhere from everyone. So I just take them all. When people say I'm self-made, that's a bunch of bullcrap, because we're all accumulation of the books we've read, the conferences we've gone through. I mean, Brad Sugars at a conference could say one thing that could impact us in such a way, and he has, that takes you to a whole new level. And that was less than maybe 6 words, less than just a few seconds. But embrace it. Anything that comes your way from the right people is coming your way for a reason. Embrace it, take it, acknowledge it, and it's there. It's a gift for you to grow and go to the next level. So, heck of a journey.
I love that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a guru. It can be somebody that could be a team member, could be a family member, just something that someone says at some point that, shifts your thinking.
Yeah. Someone asked me, who's your hero? And my uncle, Tommy, lived to 96 years old. He was married for 70 years to the same woman. He had cancer, and his wife died before him. And we went to visit him, and we expected to see this frail man. He fought in World War II. He did it his way. He got in his fights and his arguments, but he lived life on his terms. And we went to see him that day. He was just like, I'm grateful every day the sun rises and my feet are planted on the earth, and I'm living. And who he wasn't a man of a lot of wealth, but who he was just totally grateful for everything that came his way. He did it his way. He made his rules. He didn't care what other people thought. And I called him up. I said, Tom, I just want to let you know that somebody asked me a question who my hero was, and I want to let you know it's you. And he passed a week later. And his daughter called me and said that was the nicest thing he ever heard. So you could look at a hero like a sports figure or a military figure or some dynamic individual, but sometimes the heroes are the most frail people that you might not know. Like Arcelia Dove, she's a hero to me. I mean, wow. Woman's amazing. Those are the heroes.
Yeah.
Those are the mentors.
Love that. Coach Michael Dill, thank you for all the learnings.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Michelle Adams, your host here. Hats off to you for committing to your learning by listening to this podcast. And if you'd like some help implementing some of these strategies, then click the link in the description to find your local action coach. They can help you put these strategies into action and take your business and your life to the next level. In the meantime, like and subscribe so that you're the first to get our next episode. We'll see you soon.